Imagine being on a sacred pilgrimage, filled with devotion and spiritual longing, only to have your journey tragically cut short by the brutal bullets of heartless terrorists. This horrifying scenario unfolded on June 9th in Reasi, Jammu and Kashmir. Pakistan-supported terrorists ambushed a bus carrying Hindu pilgrims, killing 10 innocent people, including women and children. As the bus careened into a deep gorge, it symbolized a descent into an abyss of hatred and inhumanity brought upon by our rogue neighbor. This heinous attack has reopened old wounds caused by Pakistan's continuous support for cross-border terrorism against India. Once again, the world witnesses the depths of depravity to which radical terrorists and their masterminds can descend in their ideological war against India's pluralism. This attack on spiritual travelers is a wake-up call. The time has come for a decisive effort to dismantle the terror networks thriving under the Pakistani state's protection. On that fateful day, a bus carrying 53 pilgrims was returning from the ancient Shiv Khori cave shrine in Reasi district. As dusk fell, their sacred journey turned into a nightmare near Kanda village. Heavily armed terrorists ambushed the bus, spraying it with gunfire. One of the first shots hit the driver, causing him to lose control. The bus veered off the road and plunged into a 200-foot gorge, with the crash adding to the terrifying chaos. But the militants were not done. They climbed down the gorge and continued firing at any signs of movement or cries for help from the wreckage below. By the time security forces arrived, 10 pilgrims, including a child, had been killed. Over 30 others were severely injured, their conditions so grave that the dead seemed almost fortunate in comparison. The gorge had become a valley of death, its rocky contours forever stained by the blood of innocents. Tragically, this attack is just the latest in Pakistan's long-standing strategy of waging an invisible war against India by supporting terrorism. Within hours, the Pakistan-backed terrorist group, the Resistance Front, TRF, claimed responsibility. This group is an offshoot of the banned Lashkar-e-Taiba, formed after the removal of Article 370 in 2019, with the goal of driving a wedge between Kashmiris and the Indian Union. Intelligence reports confirmed that the terrorists were Pakistani nationals who had recently crossed the line of control with the help of the Pakistani military. Their twisted goal was to punish India for the successful elections in Jammu and Kashmir, which saw record voter turnout and a defeat for separatist forces. For Pakistan's military jihadi complex, the active participation of Kashmiris in India's democracy was an unacceptable defeat. The failure of their policies has now led them to target Hindu pilgrims and civilians to create a communal divide. In response, India has launched a robust action plan on multiple fronts to dismantle the terror infrastructure, apprehend the perpetrators, and reassert its sovereignty over Jammu and Kashmir. Massive joint operations by the Indian Army, CRPF, and J&K police have been launched to flush out any remaining terrorists from the region's forests. Drones and surveillance equipment are being used to track their movements, while human intelligence networks are working to choke off the terrorist support systems. The National Investigation Agency has been given the task of probing the attack to uncover the broader conspiracy and any international connections. Forensic teams are meticulously collecting evidence from the attack site to help bring the perpetrators to justice. At the diplomatic level, India is working to expose Pakistan's unrepentant export of terrorism to the global community. Dossiers with credible evidence and intelligence reports are being shared with key world capitals and international bodies like the UN. The goal is to build immense pressure on Pakistan to dismantle terrorist entities operating on its soil. India is changing its strategies along the line of control to stop terrorists from infiltrating early on. They might chase terrorists into Pakistan, use precise airstrikes on terror camps, or even launch larger military operations if needed, based on reliable information. India is also imposing strict financial penalties to cut off funds from individuals and groups linked to Pakistani terrorism. Despite India's efforts, other countries have not strongly supported them, which has made Pakistan more confident. Now, India is pushing harder for global support to hold Pakistan accountable for sponsoring terrorism. They want Pakistan labeled as a state sponsor of terrorism at international meetings like the UN and FATF. Evidence shows Pakistan's military, like the ISI, supports terror groups targeting India. India is also reconsidering relationships with countries that support Pakistan economically. They're asking the US, Saudi Arabia, and China to stop funding and arming Pakistani terrorist groups. If Pakistan doesn't change, India might reduce ties, expel diplomats, and increase border security measures. However, military, diplomatic, and economic actions alone cannot defeat terrorism sustainably. At its root, This is a battle of ideologies and narratives that pits religious radicalism against India's pluralism. Thus, a core part of India's strategy includes investment in de-radicalization programs and promoting the cultural, religious, and ethnic diversity that forms the foundation of Jammu and Kashmir society. Public outreach, economic empowerment, education, and sports are being emphasized to steer disenchanted youth away from fundamentalism. India emphasizes its rich spiritual traditions like Hinduism's Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam and Islam's Insaniyat, humanism, as antidotes to terrorist ideologies. Civil society is mobilized to reclaim narratives from hate-mongers through digital advocacy, circulating videos highlighting the human toll of terrorism to foster public unity against extremists. Countering cross-border terrorism remains challenging, but India, united in its diversity, is resolute to dismantle terrorist networks. The sacrifice of pilgrims in Reasi, tragically attacked by Pakistan-backed terrorists, resonates deeply. Gunfire shattered their peaceful journey to sacred sites in Jammu and Kashmir, a symbol of India's spiritual heritage. This assault aimed to undermine India's unity and secular fabric, but it only strengthens the nation's resolve to combat terrorism and uphold its pluralistic values against divisive forces. In response to the cowardly act of terror against pilgrims in Reasi, India is determined to dismantle every aspect of the terrorist network through a strategic blend of diplomatic, financial, and military measures. This includes isolating Pakistan diplomatically, imposing financial sanctions, and using military force when necessary. At the same time, India emphasizes its pluralistic ethos to counter extremist ideologies effectively. The attack on pilgrims has crossed a critical threshold that demands an uncompromising stance against terrorism. The goal is to ensure every citizen's right to worship safely and without fear. This tragedy in Reasi must galvanize a national effort to combat cross-border terrorism with renewed vigor. Through united diplomatic efforts, strategic military actions, ideological reinforcement, and unwavering national resolve, India aims to dismantle terrorist infrastructure systematically. Enhancing cybersecurity is also crucial in this fight, focusing on tracking and dismantling online platforms used for terrorist propaganda and recruitment. This proactive approach acknowledges the Internet's role in spreading extremism and plotting attacks, aiming to prevent radicalization and disrupt terrorist activities effectively. India's comprehensive strategy seeks not just retaliation, but long-term peace and security, ensuring that the sacrifice of the victims in Reasi serves as a turning point in the nation's battle against terrorism. Community leaders and influencers are actively involved in promoting peace and unity amidst the fight against terrorism. Religious leaders from different faiths are uniting to spread messages of harmony and coexistence, countering the divisive propaganda of terrorists. They organize events like interfaith dialogues, peace marches, and cultural festivals to celebrate diversity and shared heritage. Education is crucial in this effort. Schools and colleges in Jammu and Kashmir are encouraged to include curriculum promoting critical thinking, tolerance, and understanding of different cultures. Programs providing vocational training and job opportunities for youth are expanding, offering constructive paths away from extremism. Infrastructure development is also prioritized to improve daily life and reduce isolation, which can foster extremist sentiments. Better roads, healthcare, and communication networks are being built. Development projects are fast-tracked to ensure people benefit fully from being part of India, including new schools, hospitals, sports facilities, and cultural centers. This comprehensive approach aims to foster peace, stability, and prosperity in the region. The government is also looking into more effective rehabilitation programs for former militants. These programs aim to reintegrate them into society by providing psychological support, education, and job opportunities. The goal is to show them that there is a life beyond violence and that they can be productive, respected members of society. Also, special attention is being given to the families of those who have been affected by terrorism. Support systems are being put in place to help them cope with their loss and trauma. This includes counseling services, financial aid, and educational scholarships for the children. By supporting these families, we can ensure that they do not become a breeding ground for further resentment and violence. While these measures are being put in place, it is crucial for every Indian to understand the gravity of the situation and the need for unity. Public awareness campaigns are being launched to educate people about the true nature of terrorism and the importance of standing together against it. By fostering a sense of collective responsibility, we can ensure that no one falls prey to the divisive tactics of terrorists. The attack in Reasi is a stark reminder of the ongoing threat of terrorism that India faces. It is a call to action for the entire nation to unite against the forces of hatred and violence. Through strategic military action, diplomatic efforts, economic measures, and societal resilience, India can and will overcome this menace. The memory of those lost in Reasi will fuel our determination to secure a peaceful and united future for all Indians. In conclusion, the journey towards peace and security is long and arduous, but it is a journey that we must undertake with unwavering resolve. The sacrifice of the Reasi pilgrims must not be in vain. It must serve as a reminder of the resilience of the human spirit and the unbreakable bond that holds our nation together. Together, we will rise above this tragedy and emerge stronger, more united, and more determined than ever to protect our way of life and our cherished values of peace, tolerance, and unity.